Hi, this is David Reese, and you're watching the Krash Kourse Metal Show.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Krash Kourse Metal Show. I'm your host, Trevor Crash Knight, and today we're going to be doing something different. We're going to add a new series here to the channel, and that is going to be, like a album battle. And generally speaking, I'm going to keep it inside one band during this battle and choose like two of their best or well-known albums, or just two albums in general out of their catalog and discography, and kind of have a little bit of a battle. And I thought, you know what? No other band better to start it out here because, well, first we're going to do Lynch Mob. Lynch Mob, obviously, for George Lynch. Everyone knows him from Dokken and a bunch of other projects like Sweet and Lynch as well. With that being said, though, I thought with seeing Lynch Mob in a week here live, and also with their new album, Lynch Mob's new album coming out here very shortly, I thought what better way to start off this album battles with the band Lynch Mob. So here we got two albums, their first two albums here, Wicked Sensation and the self-titled from 1992. So, and then we will talk a little bit, mini review these two albums here, and then at the end of the video, I will pretty much choose one here as my favorite one, that which will end up winning the battle. So first off, we will just start here with, obviously, the man behind Lynch Mob is George Lynch, guitar hero, one of the best guitar players from the 80s, one of the best tones from the 80s. I know a lot of people that, even if they're not 80s hair metal buffs like me, that just even know Dokken and just know a little bit of rock and metal from that era. George Lynch is always one that comes to their mind as, hey, this guy has great tone, one of my favorite tones of the 80s, that kind of thing. And I have to agree with that. And certainly, so everyone knows him from Dokken. And after Back for the Attack, Dokken pretty much disbanded, and George Lynch went and made Lynch Mob in 1989. The first album came out in 1990. So here on the first album, you have Oney Logan, George Lynch, obviously on guitars, Anthony Esposito on bass guitar, and then you have Mick Brown on drums of Dokken as well. He came over with George, and you have Max Norman as producer, and this album was off of Elektra Records. So now with this album, it did, well, you had two singles here, and that was River of Love and then the title track, Wicked Sensation. And River of Love did climb to the number 19 spot on the mainstream rock charts, and Wicked Sensation as a single reached the number 31. So they did have some airplay, but I don't think this album ever got certified gold or platinum. I know it didn't get certified platinum, but I don't think it even went gold either. But which is kind of strange because, you think here Dokken was a big band at the time. 88, they just came off with like Dream Warriors and such, Back for the Attack. Like Dokken was at the height right there, and having one of the better. Now, the 80s produced a shit ton of great guitar players. It's hard to find a bad guitar player in the 80s, in my opinion. And you have one of the best pioneering guys here in George Lynch, and this didn't really reach gold, which is kind of surprising because both of those singles I just named, Wicked Sensation and River of Love, are very good songs, awesome songs, and it's just strange to me that didn't really get certified. We will jump into the album here as a whole and check it out. So you do have 12 total tracks on this album, and you start off here with Wicked Sensation. Great opening track. I mean, one of the best songs from Lynch Mob's whole catalog. And now, granted, you can say I'm not going to say it's overplayed or anything like that because it's not. But of the whole catalog, this is the one that people usually tend to play. But hey, every time it comes on, I enjoy the hell out of it. Great guitar work, obviously, from George. And at the end, Logan yells out, "You know the devil's in my soul." Like, it's good. I really enjoy the songwriting too off of this. Now we will get to throughout this album the guitar work, which is, doesn't need to be said, but I want to keep saying because it's just absolutely awesome, just shredding everywhere. And now I'll bring up this point since I'm kind of thinking about it right now. The shredding that you get on Wicked Sensation here as an album, George Lynch, like, I don't know if he was out to prove a point, which he probably was, just as, Dokken being disbanded, because at the time, too, the same year, I believe, Don Dokken's Up From the Ashes album came out as well. And I believe that was actually kind of written as a Dokken album, but then they ended up disbanding and such, and then he just kind of, like, released that Don did on as, like, a solo album. I could be wrong on like the details there, but I'm pretty sure that was like the gist of it. So, which is a good album in its own right, but I think George Lynch got the better of those two albums as the better output. But back to the point of just George Lynch is shredding every which way. There's like 5 guitar solos and 5 great riffs in every song here. It seems like you got 12 tracks. And it doesn't feel like 12 tracks, that's for sure. So I kind of like to describe this as that if anyone follows me, they know I'm a big fan of Vinnie Vincent's debut album, Vinnie Vincent Invasion. I kind of put this in the same category, but I describe it more as like George Lynch. It's chaotic, but it's more of a controlled chaos, and every note is in perfect placement and everything. Meanwhile, like Vinnie Vincent on the debut, man, he's just going crazy. Like every left field, every right field, center field, way down in London Bridge, coming, the Allegheny River, it's all coming everywhere. So, but I think with George here on Wicked Sensation, the album, it's real controlled. Solos are crisp, precise. It's awesome, especially when you like watch some of like the I guess video of him in studio doing solos to some of these songs, which I will put up here on this video too. Man, dude, it's just great work of art. I dig it. And that's what the 80s like hair metal, sleaze metal, glam metal. I think that's what I enjoy the most about it is just the guitar work. Of more than anything, like a song can kind of like lyrically can kind of be bad, doesn't have to be a great song, but like if there's great soloing, just great guitar work in general in there, like you're gonna have me hooked. It's gonna go onto the iPod just based on that, because like even like some of George Lynch's other stuff, like even the last track on here, Street Fighting Man, is probably one of the weaker songs on here, because there's not many weak songs on this album. So, like, the last track here, Street Fighting Man, it still goes on the iPod because of the soloing, because of what George does. It makes it interesting still as a song. So, yeah, we can move on here. So, you got the second single here on the second song on the album, River of Love. Another good single. Like I said, it did go high in the mainstream rock charts. And, it's just... everything is clicking here. I like on this album here. Now, Logan does have a specific style of singing. I think most people... now, granted, I do hear that he is better, or he's not as good live, like he as a showman and such. So, but we're just talking straight album here. I like him on the album. Sounds good. I can dig the style of it. And I think what I do like about this album a little bit kind of compared to the 1992 self-titled, is that you get it's shadier on the bluesy side. Like you get a little bit more on the bluesy feel of it than more so on the 1992 album. But nonetheless, though, I mean, so the third track, you got Sweet Sister Mercy, another great riff coming in from George. Man, the whole band is tight. Like the drumming's good. Like there's even some, like For a Million Years, Dance of the Dogs, Rain. There's some good drumming in here, and that really kind of stands out too on its own. It's not just George just going crazy, which he kind of does on this album, but it's not totally overlapping everyone else. Like say Vinnie Vincent's debut. Like Vinnie Vincent's guitar work is just overlapping everything. Then you got, Mark Fleshman vocals just going higher yet, and it's just like like I said, that's chaos. This is a controlled Wicked Sensation is a controlled chaos, and that is what I think makes it really, really good. So, and then you got All I Want, which is kind of a little, it's not a ballad, but it is on a little bit of a slower side, mid-tempo type deal, which I really like it. Because I remember buying this album about 15 years ago when I was in high school. Man, dude, ever since I bought it, I love this album, and it brings back some memories more so than the self-titled Lynch Mob, the second album, because I bought that like a couple years later. It was kind of harder to find at the time than say the debut, but I mean, for as good as the 1992 is, I think just it kind of sticks with me a little bit, just as far as the Wicked Sensation, just because of like being in high school. Because like there's some really good albums that I picked up like out of print stuff back then for like real cheap, and man, I just played that shit to no end. Awesome stuff. So
Isn't very. Shut up and take my money.
So yeah, All I Want is a good slower one. Another good solo in here, a couple of them from George, and then you got Hell Child as the fifth track. Another good one. Good stuff here, but not my favorite. So, I guess technically, so since you had 12 songs, I'm just going to count as the sixth track, the last track on side A, because I'm not 100% sure if that is accurate. But just for argument's sake, we're gonna cut this album in half as side A and side B. And then so you got the last track on side A, then She's Evil But She's Mine, another like a mid-tempo type deal. Really cool, drawn out type chorus. I like it a lot. A lot of these songs are reaching into on average like 4.5 minutes. Some are even up to in the sixes. So I mean, you do get very good compositions here. You get good songwriting all the way around. So, and that's a strong side A here. Wicked Sensation, River of Love, Sweet Sister Mercy, All I Want, Hell Child, She's Evil But She's Mine. That is a strong side A. Oh my gosh, I just thinking about that, I'm thinking of all these different songs here off side A. I'm like, okay, I kind of want to listen to this again. So starting off side B though, you got Dance of the Dogs, solid. Not my favorite, but solid. Still on the iPod, which actually technically this whole album is on the iPod, so I can't really say it's any of these tracks are like a dud and that I don't listen to. So they all get rotation here. But Dance of the Dogs, fine, not my favorite. And then you got Rain, which is one that kind of grew on me because I remember when I bought this album, I only had about like 9 tracks off of it at first, and then as the years kind of go on, I keep putting more and more tracks on it, which obviously a couple years ago I just put the whole album on. I was like, okay, this really grew on me here. So Rain's another nice kind of like mid-tempo feel. Not a ballad, but just, you get Logan kind of like just belting it out a little bit. And I dig it. I like what he brings. I don't know if his voice kind of has like a bluesy feel to it yet, because like when you think of George, I kind of don't necessarily think of a bluesy guitar player per se, but I hear it, I feel it in this album more so than a lot of the other stuff that I have of his work either in Dokken or Lynch Mob or solo. So you got here next Bed of No Bed of Roses, which is I think a very underrated song in the Lynch Mob catalog. I remember even when I first bought this, I loved that song. For a certain period of time, I liked No Bed of Roses. That was probably my favorite song off the album there for a little while in my younger years. I really dig it. The chorus is really catchy. The verse I dig. Good solo. I mean, I can say that for every song here, and in every 30 seconds or so. But good soloing as well. And then now the next track you do get Through These Eyes, and that is like the ballad, what I would say ballad A off this album. Very good. Nothing special as far as like a ballad. It wouldn't make my top 30 ballads or so. I would say maybe not even the top 50. But when it comes on though, the iPod in my ballad playlist, which is literally probably like a week long, I don't skip it. It stays there, and it's quite enjoyable. And then you're getting a solo from George, so you might as well just keep it on and not skip it. All right. So next you have the 11th track. Okay, so we got 2 tracks left, and as of now, we're pushing through this album, and it feels like nothing. So the 11th track you got For a Million Years, nice chugging type song, not fast, or not like chugging like real fast like a Thrash or anything like that, but you get a nice little chant. And this is actually a 6-minute 15-second song. I dig it. I like it. It's not, I wouldn't say it's necessarily any of my top 3, but it's solid. I keep it on when it comes on the iPod. It doesn't get skipped when it comes up. I'm ready for it. It's always a pleasure to hear most of these songs. Most of these songs do not get skipped at all. Like I said, maybe Street Fighting Man does, like if it's in a shuffle with like a lot of the other stuff, just of the genre of like all the bands and stuff that I have. So yeah, and then as we close here, Street Fighting Man, you could probably take this song off the album, and it would be it would make it that much stronger. And it's still strong. It's hard to find 12-track albums that are strong the whole way through. Now, granted, I will say that this one had to kind of not grow on me because I loved it right from the start. But as a whole album, every single song, it did take a couple listens to really appreciate each and every song, because I think each and every song here does have its own little bit of a atmosphere, aura. And then when you see like the back here, or is it? Oh yeah, okay. I'll show this here. The insert, as you see right here, like the music, the atmosphere of the music kind of feels like this, like in the desert, like that kind of Southern style feel. And maybe that's why I kind of like feel a little bit of a bluesiness to it. Now, granted, like, when you think of blues, you don't think of Arizona or anything, or deserts or anything like that. But like I said, it has a trace of that in there. And that's what I really like, because I'm a big blues guy. I love the blues hair metal stuff, like bluesy sleaze stuff. I like that a lot. And I think that's what Wicked Sensation brings to the table. So that's a little bit of a mini review here of the Wicked Sensation, the first album from 1990 from Lynch Mob. And we will move on here now to the second, which came out in 1992, which, after the tour of Wicked Sensation, they did get rid of Logan, the vocalist, and they picked up Robert Mason. If anyone's unaware of who Robert Mason is, he is the singer vocalist for Warrant, which he does a really good job. I was actually lucky enough to have backstage, have a picture with him at one of the shows with Warrant. And now, don't get me wrong, Janie Lane is the man, like super underrated vocalist and songwriter of the 80s, Janie Lane. But, if you had to pick somebody to, to do it justice, to do his songs justice, it is Robert Mason. He sounds good still. He sounds really good live still. Sounds great on this album, which we are getting to here. 1992, self-titled, Lynch Mob.
Burn it
And obviously, with Ani Logan on here, obviously you have George Lynch, you have Anthony on bass still, and then you have Mick Brown on drums still. So you still have the whole of the band, and other than Logan switched out for Robert Mason. So you got 10 tracks here on this. And now, obviously, in 1992, the styles are changing, music scene's changing, which you don't really hear that too much on this album. Like, you still get a good, solid. Now, it's not, to me, I don't think it's as bluesy, if at all, I would say, on this album compared to Wicked Sensation. But solid stuff, nonetheless, solid stuff. This one, kind of like having a battle between these two was tough. Then I just sat down, listened to these two albums the whole way through, plenty of times, and I just had to come up with a decision. And the decision was hard as hell, let me tell you that. So let's run through some of my thought processes here with the 1992. Came out in April, almost 60 minutes, almost an hour long. Producer is Keith Olsen. And, like I said, with a little bit of the changing times, obviously the record didn't sell well. I would have to imagine that it did worse than the debut, just based on when it came out. And none of the singles really having, like really heavy rotation on radio or MTV, but it did have a video and single for Tangled in the Web. Solid song. I love that. I love the horn section in that song. That's another thing. It's crazy, like the underuse of horns in some metal songs. Because like, if you guys know or follow me, I like Halloween's album Chameleon, which they use a lot of horn sections in that album. And a lot of people hate that album, but I like it. Now, granted, it's not the power metal that we all know and love, that we love Halloween for. It's no Keeper of the Seven Keys, but as just standalone music, with good mixture and variety of stuff, I think the horn section works perfectly. I love it. So, and you get a little bit of that here with Tangled in Your Web, but it is still heavy. It's still what you would expect from George and Lynch Mob. So, but first, that's the second track, Tangled in the Web. But the first opening track, Jungle of Love, solid stuff. I every time that comes on, I love that little intro there, like do 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 do, yeah, and then Robert Mason just kind of does like a little simple vocal on his own a little bit. Like there's not much going on in the background there for like a couple words or so. Solid stuff, solid guitar solo, and that's actually another thing I want to bring up here in this album. You don't get as much wildness, guitar solos. Now, don't get me wrong. You still have solid guitar solos in every song, solid guitar work, riffage everywhere, but it's not as chaotic, if that makes sense. And at least to my ear, when I was listening to these like side by side, back to back, I would say that it's not as many solos and small solos and just like little things thrown in there as say Wicked Sensation. So, but Jungle Love, solid song. I love that song. Tangled in the Web, great as number 2. No Good, another good one as track number 3. Dream Until Tomorrow, a slower one. I wouldn't say it's certainly not a power ballad, but maybe you could argue that it is a ballad, but it is on the slower side of things. 6 minutes long, which is the longest track on this album. So you got next here, the 5th track, Cold as the Heart. Solid. It's okay. It's cool. And then I'll just say, since there is 10 tracks, I'll say that that's side A. So that's a strong. Is it as strong as Wicked Sensation side A? Probably not. No, I don't think so. I don't think I will say that. but it's right there though. It's solid. It's worthy of having a debate over though. Like you could sway me into saying, hey, this this for that or that. I mean, hey, as long as you got shredding going on here from George, I think we're all going to be okay. Okay. So here you got. See, now this is where we're kind of like teetering a little bit. That like I wasn't 100% sure until I really put these side by side where I was gonna land with this album and also the side B of this album. So you got to start out here, the 6th track, "Tie Your Mother Down," which is a Queen cover, and I'm just not a fan of that song to begin with Queen, and I'm not really a fan of it here either. And I just don't want a cover per se from George here on this, especially in this era. Like, come on, give me one more original. Even just give me like a Mr. Scary #2 or something. Like, give me something. Like, give me an instrumental. That's cool. I'm all for that. Which is actually kind of strange, when you think about it. Like, as popular as Mr. Scary is off of Back for the Attack, Dawkins album, you would think George would kind of do something on one of his Lynch Mob, or at least the first 2 here, coming off of that album, Back for the Attack album. So that, which I kind of didn't think about that until now. Like, we don't really get an instrumental here from George off the first 2 classic albums here. So yeah, "Tie Your Mother Down," you can get rid of that. So technically, we're only talking 9 original tracks here, and that's kind of a negative in my view when you compare it to the debut. So you got track number 7 here, "Heaven Is Waiting." Okay, nothing crazy. Same with "I Want It," the 8th track. Okay, see, and that's kind of where we are here. Like 6, 7, 8 is kind of like it's solid stuff that's listenable, but it wasn't on the iPod. Now, granted, I probably, up until I did this video here and really researched both these albums again, like I said, I had the whole debut album on the iPod for the past couple years. And this album, I probably only had, say, 7 songs. So, like I said, not a fan of "Tie Down Your Mother." "Heaven Is Waiting," it's okay. Nothing crazy or real memorable. Same with "I Want It." But side 2 is coming to redeem itself right here, right now. And just track number 9, "When Darkness Calls." Absolutely amazing guitar work. Now, this could have easily been on the first one. Like, as far as like George just going crazy with some solos and stuff here, and Robert's soulful voice. Robert really comes out in this song as well. Same with George. Same with the whole band. Like I said, the whole band's tight again here. That's when you listen to the Wicked Sensation album, you know what to expect with the second one. So I kind of don't need to say that the band's great again, but hey, here I am saying the band's great again. All right, so "When Darkness Calls," though, come on, guys. Guys, if you don't know this song, please. Actually, I'll probably put it here in the background. So enjoy it while listening to me, while listening to that. Solid stuff. Great guitar work. I love the lyrics. Just everything about the song. This might be my favorite Lynch Mob song overall. Like, I can listen to this song anytime. It's on the ballad playlist, even though it's not technically probably a ballad or a power ballad, but it's there. It's like a little bit slower, on the slower side, and just real, like heartfelt stuff. I dig it. And then actually, one that I kind of forgot about was the next track, the 10th track to end everything, is "The Secret." Kind of gives me a little bit of a 1992 feeling of, say, like a band like Saigon Kick, or Saigon Kick, however you want to say that. Like The Lizard, like that album. Kind of has a little bit of that feel to it. Like God of 42nd Street or something like that. Something off, the Lizard album from Saigon Kick. But solid stuff. That's one that actually did make it back onto the iPod because, like, as everyone knows, over time stuff grows on you. You view things a little bit differently over time than when you first heard it or when you last heard it. And The Secret's a nice addition here off this album. But guys, I guess here that pretty much wraps up the little reviews here of these albums. So now I will give you my decision. I think, at first this was tough. This was tougher because I thought the 1992 was going to be a little bit more stronger than I remembered, but it was still tough though. But I think some of the negatives towards the 1992 self-titled was it did have that cover of the Queen cover, Tie Your Mother Down. Not as much George going crazy, like a controlled chaos. But don't get me wrong, he's still soloing. This is a perfect sequel to, Wicked Sensation. Don't get me wrong, but to me, it's not. That's the charm, I think, for me anyway, of Wicked Sensation. Just George just going absolutely crazy on the whole guitar neck, tapping, finger tapping, shredding, doing all kinds of crazy shit, and it's just amazing. But for me, I think, and obviously, if you want to like I did say, the 1992 album does have my favorite song of Lynch Mob of all time is When Darkness Calls. So that to me kind of made it real hard as well to really pick a difference. And I do really love Mason's voice, Robert Mason's voice on this self-titled album. Because like I said, I'm a fan of Robert Mason's singing, whether it's in Warrant, whether it's in Lynch Mob, any of his other projects. And I think, but as much as I do enjoy both those, facts there, I do tend to just go back to Wicked Sensation. I'm like, this is strong all the way around. I like every song. Even like I said, Street Fighting Man, probably my weakest one that I would consider the weakest track off this album, but it's still listenable. I listened to it today and it was fine. Like I didn't skip it. So it's just a solid album. I love Wicked Sensation, and I know there's a lot of love for the second album too, and I'm right there with you. I love it as well. I have a lot of perks to it, a lot of positives for it. But when you compare it though to the debut, I just think it just beats it out by a little bit. And obviously, I don't want to get like my emotion into it as far as like my memories and stuff, because obviously in high school and stuff, like me and a couple buddies know some of these songs, these deep tracks by heart as well off this album, and it's just cool. And like we still talk about it to this day, and it's so that there's something to be said about that, and that's kind of why I skewed it. But I try to keep it as emotionless as possible, like as memory, like with memories and what I connect to some memories and stuff like that. But I think as a whole, the whole album is solid, great. Both of them anyway, but specifically Wicked Sensation from 1990. George Lynch comes out with a chip on his shoulder, basically. That's what I kind of feel as well here on this album. And, Logan sounds great. I think he sounds really good. And then obviously they did have a couple reunion albums with him later down the road. And, I just, that is going to be my final answer, I think, is Wicked Sensation is going to win this episode 1 of, album battles and the Lynch Mob version. So, guys, let me know where I was wrong. Let me know where I was right. Do you agree? Let me know. And I'm quite excited to see George again live here, and especially as Lynch Mob. And because I never thought I would see that. And that's just amazing to me. Because, like, I seen him with Dawkins, I seen him solo as well with Terry from XYZ, which was a great show, and All or Nothing, the band All or Nothing. Awesome guys all the way around. And so this will be actually the third time I see George live and as Lynch Mob. So I'm quite excited for that, and thought, hey man, I gotta do a video here and talk about these two great albums. Nonetheless, there's no wrong answer here on this video between these two. So whatever you guys want to do, I'm cool with it. Just let me know. Because I do, whenever other people talk about, say, the 1992 album, they throw some other details at me, what they hear. And then I go back, I listen to it, and I hear it then too. And I'm like, damn, that is pretty cool. I didn't really pick up on that the, 99th time that I listened to it. So every time, and that's what's awesome about these. Like every time I listen to them, like I hear something that George did that I didn't hear the last time, or something off the wall, like the drumming, wild mix drumming. Like I heard like that in Rain today. I'm like, damn, these drums sound pretty good here at the beginning, like just real specific stuff over time that you listen to. Obviously, it takes hundreds of times to listen to that stuff, but I like how you guys comment and tell me what you guys like about these albums. So guys, until next time, I want to thank you guys for watching and let me know what you guys want as another album battle from a specific band. Let me know, because I got some ideas going here, but I just thought, with seeing George Lynch and Lynch Mob here soon this week, I thought, no better time to do a Lynch Mob video than now. So guys, until next time, I'm Trevor Crash Knight. Click the subscribe button to hang out and join the party here with us. We'd love to have you. Just talk all rock and metal. That's what we love, right? So until next time, guys, I'll see you guys later.
Yeah, I wrote that. It's called I Want to Rock Your Body. And then in parentheses it says to the break of dawn.